Shalom Aleichem, my friends. We will discuss a few thoughts about this coming Parashat is Shabbat, in which we will read Parashat Mishpatim. This coming Shabbat is also known as Parashat Shkalim, referring of course to the Machatzit shekel, half a shekel, that used to be collected from the Jewish people in the time, of course, when we had the temple. And the collection of monies of half a shekel was used in order to have the sacrifices that were to be sacrificed in the temple. However, shekalim, there is one thinker who said that shekalim is also could refer also to the situation of thinking, lishkol et hadat, to always weigh your mind, to think, which can be definitely connected to the thoughts that we would like to convey today, having to do with the judgment and the judges. So the Torah Parashat Mishpatim is a very special kind of parasha. It's going to talk primarily about the commandments having to do between a Jew and his fellow Jew. Why? Because we just separated from the previous parasha, which was Parashat Yitro, in which we read about the 10 Commandments. The 10 Commandments came directly from the Almighty God, of course, through the mouth of Moses, as far as the majority of the commandments. But now, the commandments that have to do with the behavior between one and each other. Of course, we have to look for a connection between this parasha Mishpatim and the parasha of Yitro. Why is it necessary to look for a connection? Because it begins with the word Ve'ele HaMishpatim, and these are the laws. The letter Vav, Ve'ele, brings to mind that this is something that is continuous, as though there is definitely a connection between this parasha and the previous one, Parashat Yitro. And we should ask the question, what is the connection? Apparently, these are two different things. But there is a connection. Rabbeinu Ovadia Sforno, one of the greatest commentators on the Torah, he explains that it has to do, there is a connection between the beginning of our parasha, having to do, of course, with the laws of the judges, but it is connected with the ending, the conclusion of the 10 commandments that we read in the previous parasha. Why? As I have mentioned before, that our parasha Mishpatim is going to deal only primarily with the commandments that have to do with between each other. Ben Adam lachavero. And the conclusion of the 10 commandments is talking, the last commandment is Lo tachmod eshet re'echa, do not desire the wife of your fellow man. And then v'chol asher lere'echa, and whatever belongs to your fellow man, you should not desire. No, because it's not yours. So because the conclusion of the 10 commandments have to do with something that has to do between you and your fellow man, that's why it is connected with the coming parasha, which is the Parashat Mishpatim, which is going to talk about all the laws that have to do between each other. It's a very beautiful connection, but I'm looking for the direct connection with the conclusion, not the conclusion of the 10 Commandments, but rather the connection of the Parasha Yitro at the end. What is the last verse? What is it that the last verse is saying? ולא תעלה במעלות על מזבחי אשר לא תגלה ערוותך עליו. What does it mean? And it means the following: do not ascend. Literally it means with steps upon my altar, but לא תעלה במעלות means do not go, do not ascend, do not go up the steps of the Mizbeach, of the altar, but it suggests also do not be presumptuous, do not be arrogant. It has the injection of arrogance in this verse. Asher lo tigale ervatecha alav, so that your nakedness will not be uncovered upon it. Of course, the literal meaning is talking about the trousers of the high priest who goes up the steps of the altar, that he should be careful not to be wearing, of course, very well, trousers that will cover his nakedness, no question about it. But it has to do also with the philosophical meaning, and that is when a person goes up the steps when you ascend upon the altar of God. What does it mean? In our days we have no temple, we have no altar, so it is in the figurative. In the figurative way, we should understand that the altar of God is, for example, when you sit down on a chair of judgment. If you are a judge, then you have to understand, whether you are religious or not, you still have to think about the truth properly with tremendous honesty. And primarily, the judge should not be contaminated with a terrible contamination of ga'ava, of arrogance, and vanity, conceit. He has to be very careful to have a humble heart. This way he will be able to judge properly. Otherwise, if he goes with his arrogance, he is liable to do the wrong decision, and the innocent will suffer. So one has to be very careful, because this, if the judge is not careful about that which we said now about the vanity, then he will reveal himself, which means that the way this judge or these judges they render their decisions, they might be in a terrible way of injustice that will be committed any time. I hope that at least some people will understand what I am saying here and to what am I referring. And of course I am referring to what's going on in the land of Israel today, that there is a controversial matter which is difficult to understand. You ask people, do you understand really what's going on? Most of people will tell you, no, I don't understand. What could be wrong with the new government, for example? Why is it that those who lost the possibility to rule the land of Israel, they lost? And that's democracy, right? So why is it that they are now trying to invent all kinds of things, that there is a terrible thing that's going on, lack of democracy? Lack of democracy, it's from you. You are not democratic really, because you don't want to bear the feeling of having lost the rulership over the land of Israel. Where is democracy? At least let them try. Maybe the new way will bring better results to the people of Israel. Anyway, we'll have to continue. So anyway, this was what I said was based upon the comment of the Sforno, Rabbi Ovadia Sforno. Some of the commentators from the sages of Morocco, they said that there is a connection between our parasha and the ending of last parasha, because God wants to warn us about arrogance, as we said, that we call ga'ava, that we have to avoid it at all price. As I have explained very well, and I am going now to quote from the great volume of the Shulchan Aruch in the volume of Choshen Mishpat in chapter 7, Halakha 11, in which we learn that a judge must have 7 requirements. What are the 7 requirements? Number 1, chokhmah. He must have wisdom. What should we say now today? Let me give you an example. I heard with my own ears a certain discussion that was with the head of the judges for many years in the land of Israel today, in our generation, Mr. Barak. He was interviewed. They asked him, "Are you religious?" He said, "No, I am not." "Are you Jewish?" He said, "Yes, of course I am Jewish. But what do you prefer, democracy or Judaism?" He says, "I prefer democracy." But he added that I am sorry that I haven't learned enough about Judaism. And here comes the next question. "Do you believe in God?" He said, "No, I don't believe in God." This is what I call stupidity of the first degree. How could a great judge in the land of Israel, religious or not, how could he say openly that he does not believe in God? How can you judge your fellow Jew if you don't have the fear of God? Where is your wisdom? Oh my God. I found only one verse in the Torah at the end of the book of Devarim, where it says, "Lu chachmu yaskilu zot," if they were really wise, "Yavinu le'acharitam," they should understand what will be the result for their kind of decision that are made without the fear of God. At the first, that means that they are not. Lu chachmu yaskilu. If they had wisdom, they would think, but they have no wisdom. I'm sorry to say it, but that's how I feel. This is only my words. What can I say? The first requirement for the judge is to be wise. I haven't seen wisdom in all that's happening today by any one of those 15 or so judges that rule the system, the system of the law in Israel. Does not mean, it does not make any sense. Anyway, what is the second requirement, as it says in the Jewish halakha? Hanava, humility. That's definitely something that they don't have today. If there is a certain thing to say, is that there is much ga'ava, much vanity, much of that kind of character that rules the heart of those judges. Because when they saw that the power is being taken away from them, there's no more thinking of democracy, there is no more thinking of wisdom, immediately there is a whole revolution. It does not make any sense. Why is that? Because they were always ruled by vanity, by arrogance. How dare they take the power from us? That's the power of gava, arrogance. Unfortunately, the second requirement is not theirs. They don't have humility. If they had humility, they would accept it with tremendous sympathy and acceptance of the real meaning of democracy. Well, that definitely is revealing the true identity and the true character of these judges. Why do I say that? Because any way you describe the law, it has to be coming from a heart of humbleness and goodness. Why? Because to be able to be a judge of Israel, this To be a judge belongs only to God, as the Torah says, Ki ha-mishpat le'elokim hu. Judgment belongs only to God. And yet, it was given to the power of people. But the people should know that there is a God to judge people. Otherwise, your judgment is not a judgment of the truth. There is no question about it. If they don't understand it today, the days are coming in which they are going to understand it very well. That I guarantee you. The third requirement is yir'ah, the fear of God. What can I say? Do they have the fear of God? But let's say the judge is not religious and he does not believe, which is terrible, by the way. But nevertheless, he must have that kind of fear that he might make the wrong decision. Real justice is to be humble with yourself and to fear the possibility of making a mistake when you judge people. When you judge people, this is something that has to be given much feeling and much understanding and much wisdom and much sense of justice. Otherwise, stay away from that chair. The fourth requirement is sinat mammon. You have to be a judge in the land of Israel. You have to be a person who is not possessed by the ambition of too much money. To the point, our sages, of course, refer to it as the hatred of money. That we cannot say openly. To hate money, nobody hates money. Everybody loves money. But the judge is something else. He should regard the money as not proper to be played with his feelings when he renders a judgment. When he renders a judgment, the idea of money should not come to his mind. Can we say that about people who refer to themselves as people who do not believe in God? I don't believe so. The fifth requirement is ahavat ha'emet, the love for the truth. I would prefer to say they love falsity. Yes, this has been revealed. As the Torah said, as a conclusion of Parashat Yitro, "Velo ta'ale b'ma'alot al shema tigalesh asher lo tigale ervatcha alav." Make sure that if you go with vanity and arrogance and all this that we have explained, you are going to reveal because unfortunately the judges of today, they always come on the side of the terrible murderers that come to murder our little children. Even if the Knesset, the parliament, decide that they should punish, for example, the terrorist, how many times those judges have come on the side of the terrorist? No, it's not democratic.